On today's episode of Andy Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM, LSU's Brian Kelly shooting down rumors regarding quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. It is a Megaboard Wednesday. We troll through the message boards all across the On3 network, and man, we have a lot to talk about. Cole Cubelic from the SEC Network, ESPN, the Mac and Cube Show joins us. We talk Auburn. Lots of Megaboard topics regarding the Tigers. We talk Alabama Vandy. We talk all things SEC with Cole. Also, how do the Penn State fans feel about Drew Aller coming out of the Oregon game? A few Megaboard threads on that as well. We'll talk about it all today on Andy Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. We've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We will be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you'll get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB, as in college football, CFB, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. We got a lot to talk about on this Megaboard Wednesday. That's right, the Megaboard. If you're an On3 member, you have access to the greatest treasure trove of information known to man. That is the message boards of our various team sites. And of course, the Megaboard is sort of the all-star message board where we take the juiciest and best threads from all of those. Ari, starts with the Auburn board, auburnsports.com. They broke the Braves managerial news last night, and it didn't actually break on Major League Baseball media until Wednesday.
Sign up for On3. That's what you get when you sign up for On3. You get college football information. You get to talk it through. You get Major League Baseball information.
I just love that there's if you go to the bunker at auburnsports.com, 3/4 of the threads are about Hugh Freeze and whether he's going to remain employed through this season. And then there's this one that's like, hey, by the way, Brian Snitker's going to retire tomorrow and they're going to kick him up to the front office.
Do we know who posted it?
Well, he's on screen there. So there you go. And
yeah, I didn't know if we knew who that was.
I don't know who that is, but I'm sure the Justin Hokanson at our at Auburn Sports knows who that is. So, but we got inside information coming out the wazoo on the Megaboard. A thread that hasn't hit the Megaboard yet, that by the time this show is posted probably will have hit the Megaboard. Shea Dixon from the Bengal Tiger, our LSU site, asked Brian Kelly on Wednesday about rumors involving the health of quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. And Ari, this is a situation where we don't know exactly where Garrett Nussmeier is health-wise. We know there was an issue that Brian Kelly acknowledged after the Florida game involving like an abdominal issue or a core injury. But LSU fans just want answers. They want to know why their offense is not working. They're frustrated after the Ole Miss game. And it's weird because LSU only has one loss. It's not like LSU's out of the playoff mix. It's not like their goals are still very much in front of them, but it feels like the fans are getting really angsty. And I wonder how much of that is the Clemson win and the Florida win, which if we talked about them winning their first 4 games before the season would have looked like tentpole wins, and now they're not.
Yeah. And the thing with Garrett Nussmeier is that if I remember this correctly, Andy, like injury stuff was swirling around him before the season started, right?
Correct.
Like this isn't like something that is just like he's playing poorly and LSU can't score. Let's try to blame it on an injury. Like this stuff's been going on since August. And like I don't know what your take on it is because neither of us are medical doctors, but I do watch LSU and I do watch him. And he does not seem to be playing at a level that we anticipated. Now, there's a lot. I
thought you were going to say you watched ER reruns or House MD or something like that. So
I've never been a doctor show guy. I don't know about you. It never interested me, and I don't like gore.
It's been a while. First few seasons of Grey's Anatomy I was in on, but then I went when they had to rescue the deer. I was pretty much out.
My wife watches doctor shows constantly, and I feel like they're all the same. But anyway. He's not playing up to what we thought his potential was. There was a discussion in the offseason about whether or not he'd be the number 1 overall pick in the draft coming up. And I think that when you're an LSU fan or a fan in general, I mean, the same thing was going on with Arch Manning, right? Arch Manning didn't play well, and everybody was wondering, if he was injured. We're breaking down facial expressions after balls he threw in the dirt. Like, I mean, it's not like this is the only scenario. But injury often is, if you're not playing full speed, the explanation for why a player isn't performing. And like Brian Kelly said to Shea Dixon that it's misinformation and denied unequivocally that there's no major injury. He did acknowledge the ab muscle strain that he had and that it's been kind of a nagging injury. But like there's no like what are we thinking? Like this is a major injury that's not going to go away and he's just playing hurt. And like if it is, you'd want to acknowledge that because at least it explains the underwhelming performances.
So here's what Shea asked Brian Kelly. He asked about speculation and rumors that Garrett Nussmeier might need in-season surgery. So that was the key phrase there. And this is Brian Kelly's response, his exact response. That's misinformation. Those are not based on any facts. They're quite silly, actually, Shea. And I know you have to ask the question, so I'm certainly not throwing you under the bus for asking it because people want to know. But this is misinformation. Yes, early on he had an ab strain, not a core injury in terms of a core injury that they have to deal with. And it's been slow to heal. But as I mentioned, he's on the back side of that. He's getting rest this week. He'll be the Garrett Nussmeier he needs to be as we get into the very difficult part of our schedule. Now, I want to point out the last part of that sentence.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It gets really difficult from here. So LSU's off. And I would agree that with a nagging injury like that, if it's something that rest would help a lot, not having a game at all is probably the most helpful thing. They don't play again until they play South Carolina next week. But after that, in a row, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, the Vandy games on the road. Then they get an open date. Then they play Alabama. That is a gauntlet. And this is the part I think we probably need to talk about a little more next week, Ari, with regard to all the SEC teams, because we're about to see everybody hit these stretches of 3 and 4 games in a row.
Yeah.
Where everybody can beat you.
It's interesting that you just brought that up because I did a bubble watch project this morning and I needed Andy's help because as you're doing these, you look at who should be in as a projection right now. And then you also look at, teams that are on the cusp of being, and there's a lot of teams in the SEC that you could project into it at the moment. And I believe that LSU is probably one of them, but LSU in my project, not to spoil anything, isn't in it. And there are teams in this mix right now that are either undefeated or have one loss that might end up losing 4 times. And I feel like we're like a week or 2 away from getting right into the meat of that, where every week these teams are playing each other and then the cream is going to rise to the top. Now, I was also a little bit amused by the fact that, Brian Kelly said when they get into the difficult portion of their schedule, it's like, buddy, you guys have already lost and you haven't even gotten to that point yet. So, if there is a reason for that, if I were a coach, I would at least want to provide the proper context for why a player isn't performing. Now, I saw a lot of the responses to Shea Dixon's tweet, and it was like true. It's like, okay, well, if he's not hurt, then he just stinks then? Like, what is the...
And that's the frustrating part for LSU fans, because their offense just looks broken. And I don't know if that's the case, because here's the other part of it. Florida's defense was healthy when they played Florida. So that the healthy version of Florida's defense is good.
Yeah.
The Ole Miss defense might be good. Ole Miss might be the best team in the SEC for all we know. So we don't I would say don't quite give up yet. Now, if Dylan Stewart comes in and he's harassing Garrett Nussmeier and it causes him to throw a bunch of terrible passes, okay, maybe freak out at that point. But
yeah,
I don't know that it's time to freak out quite yet.
Well, it's also good, like you mentioned, that they don't play this weekend. So if he is dealing with a nagging injury of some sort that isn't going to require surgery, which was, denied pretty fervently on what day of the week is today? Wednesday. It's a good time to maybe take a break for a minute, reset, and see if you can figure some things out, unlock some things, and then go play a really good game against South Carolina. Because as you said, LSU is down in the dumps right now. You go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows in a very short amount of time. But no team in the SEC yet. I mean, like look at Alabama. I mean, they were ready to fold up shop right into the first week of the season.
Well, and they weren't. We were folding it up for them.
Yeah.
And it turned out, no, they're still really good.
No, the fans were in that same category, and it's so much changes so quickly. I mean, if LSU goes out and wins 2 or 3 in a row, then they're right back in the top 5, and off we go. So my hope is that Garrett Nussmeier is healthy, but I think that everybody watching, whether he's hurt or not, would agree that we're not getting the production or the explosiveness that we were anticipating out of him this year so far.
Yeah, we will see. LSU off this week, South Carolina next week. It gets pretty tough, as Brian Kelly said. Ari, next up, we're going to be joined by our friend Cole Cubelic. You can see him on ESPN, on the SEC Network, on his own show, The Cube Show. You can listen to him at Mac and Cube in the morning on WJOX in Birmingham. He's everywhere. Also, Cole, a former Auburn center. And, of course, we had to ask him about his alma mater, and we are going to do that. But first, let me tell you about Huel. The Huel Black Edition is the best meal replacement going. 40 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals. It is spectacular. I put the powder in, I shake the bottle up, I drink it, done. My meal is done. And it's great when you have a busy life, busy schedule, busy kids, busy wife. Everybody in my house loves Huel. Also, we've got the Huel Daily Greens, which I believe they're out, or it might be you can sign up to be the first. But 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods, super greens, adaptogens, lion's mane, mushroom, all in this convenient can. You start your day with it, and you get all you need at the beginning of your day. So for the world's #1 complete nutrition, go to Huel.com. That's Huel.com. Use the code Staples15, and you get 15% off your first purchase of $75 or more, plus a free gift. If it's the t-shirt that I got, oh my God, best workout shirt ever. So go to Huel.com. Staples15 is your code for 15% off your first purchase of $75 or more. Do it now. You will not regret it. Ari, let's talk to Cole Cubelic, and I'm gonna press a couple of Cole's buttons early, just because I know how that works out.
The thing I love about having him on, Andy, is that he's such he's funny. First of all, he doesn't get enough credit for how funny he is, but he has such a wealth of knowledge in telling and explaining things that have to do with like actual X's and O's, because of his experience, obviously playing the game. But the guy crushes tape, dude. Like he watches tape in a way that most
he's also one of the rare tape grinders who can actually translate it into English. And I think that's the part that makes Cole special, is he can talk about it in a way that someone who's never set foot on a football field understands exactly what he's talking about. And you're going to see that when we talk about slide protection in a few minutes, because that may be a concept that you're not aware of, you've never heard of, or maybe you've just every once in a while heard of somebody mention it in a game. He's going to explain what it is, why he hates it, and why it may be killing Auburn and Jackson Arnold this season. Here's Cole Cubelic. Cole, I have been perusing the Auburn message boards, and of course, when they're not breaking the news of the Atlanta Braves manager getting kicked upstairs, they're discussing a variety of things. And I want to throw this one out here, and this is actually not off our Auburn site. It's off the Rivals main board. Jackson Arnold is on pace to set an NCAA record for most times sacked in a season. I didn't fact check that. I'm going to choose to believe it because I've watched their games. But mostly I just wanted to tee you up to complain about slide protection one more time.
Jeez. It is it's the bane of my existence. And here's my problem with it. We talked about this. I did Kentucky, South Carolina Saturday night. We highlighted it in that game from a Kentucky standpoint. And then Roman and I spent more time on it on Read and React on the SEC Network Monday night. Auburn was a big part of that. Of course, Roman, when we had our meeting on Sunday, he goes, "I'll take Auburn offense." I'm like, yeah, I know you will. You would love to do that just to tee me up and infuriate me on a regular basis. The problem with it, Andy, is, as you know, as a former offensive lineman, it has its place. And people who don't understand this or know this, it's essentially the entire offensive line going one gap to the left or one gap to the right. Two main issues here. One, we are coaching players to be robotic. I had about a 30-minute discussion with Brian Kelly on this exact topic, not even just slide protection, but the robotic nature in which players are being coached. And BK had two really good thoughts on it. He's like, one, the portal, as you know, works against this, because I think people forget when you go from Alabama to Oregon or you go from USC to Ohio State, you have to learn not only the new terminology, but fundamentals are taught different. You take different steps on different run plays, even if it's the same run play. Different coaches have different techniques for hand placement, hat placement, how to take those steps, how to take a pass set, when to take a pass set. It's all different in different places. Well, you have to relearn that. That hinders your ability to understand collective football and understand the entirety of it, what the entire play is attempting to accomplish, not just you. So we're almost forcing tunnel vision on a lot of these guys, and that is the genesis of it at its worst, because you just say, step to your right, and guys step to their right and they sit there. You can see their brain saying, I'm doing what you told me to do. Mm-hmm. And here comes the linebacker in the A gap right next to him. It's like, all you got to do is just like help here a little bit, even though, yes, you are technically doing what we told you, but you're allowed to help and keep your quarterback from getting killed at the same time. And we just don't do that. And so he said another thing that I thought was really interesting, and he's not the first coach at LSU to tell me this. Mm-hmm. He goes, one problem, Cole, is kids aren't watching football anymore. He's like, and I know you think that's crazy. He said, but they watch highlights of football and they watch the film that they need to watch. He goes, but they don't sit down and watch football games anymore. He's like, they're watching their screens, their phones, their iPads. They're doing 7 things at once, or they have 4 games on at once. So you're never dialed in on one game. Y'all know how we watch football growing up. Like, we had the Jefferson Pilot game. We had like the CBS or the ABC game. And you had your 1 or 2 primetime games you chose from. Thursday night was huge because it was the only thing on. Yep. And like, would we rather watch that than, Steve Urkel or whatever? Like, yeah, we watched the football. We watched the game. So we watched
Virginia Tech, game. NC State.
Yeah. So
here for Urkel strays, but we can keep going. Yeah.
Urkel was on Friday night. TGIF Family Matters.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But I was talking to Shane Beamer about that. I was like, I just remember Corey Moore absolutely wrecking somebody on some Thursday night. We were in our team meeting, watching it on the big screen in our team meeting room. And this, I don't know if it was Georgia Tech, who it was. They literally could not block Corey Moore. And we were just sitting there thinking, good Lord, I'm glad we don't play Virginia Tech this year. Because like nobody was blocking that dude.
There was a Thursday night game in 08 or 09, rainy night, Columbia, Missouri. I'm pretty sure Ndamukong Suh murdered Blaine Gabbert. I really don't know how Blaine Gabbert came back and then played in the NFL. But yeah, it was one of those. Is like, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah. So to your original point, it has its place. It is a quick protection, and one of the main issues I see with Auburn right now, there are not quick routes being added to that quick protection to assist with, because that protection is not meant to hold up for 7 seconds. You got to get the ball out, which Jackson Arnold is having an issue with that as well right now. So it's collective, but that is, yes, it infuriates me.
Cole, I know that like you guys are offensive linemen. Okay. And I love being here in the presence of offensive line, mentality. Is that what you think is wrong with Auburn's offense?
That is one thing that's wrong with Auburn's offense. And like I said a second ago, Ari, it is collective. There's not one individual or one position group that we can point to because there are multiple breakdowns in protection that a back has gone the wrong way or a tight end has missed a block. So you can't just put it on the offensive line. Are they playing decent football? No, not probably since the second game of the season. I haven't seen them play even above average. So they are a big part of the problem. The quarterback's a big part of the problem. I think I sat down with you guys in the offseason and I told you, Jackson Arnold has a letting go of the football problem. That has to be coached out of him, and then it's got to be coached back into him. And that was going to be a very difficult task for Hugh Freeze, regardless of the level of talent, which he has an abundance of. But it's obviously not out yet because there are multiple plays in which the ball could be, should be, could easily have been released, and it's not. And it's been simplified to the point that I can imagine the frustration there and watching it saying, you had that one and that one. You didn't throw to either one. We're done at that point, so just leave. Just run. Make the best of it. And then there are times that an individual offensive lineman is just getting smoked. And then there are other times, and here's the part of slide protection that's bad. The defensive coordinators are smart. And I know no offensive guy ever wants to admit that. Like they all think they can outsmart the defensive guys. But I'm sitting there watching Kentucky run slide protection. I'm like, guys, Clayton White knows how to beat this. Like it's not hard. All you do is overload one side. There goes the protection. You drop a couple of those guys, bring someone, retract them back to the slide they slid away from, and occupy the backside guard. There's a giant gap between the center and the guard, and somebody's going to run through it. There's nobody home to be able to help, and the guys can adjust. So it's not just the offensive line.
It's like designing a basic offensive play. It really. So I watched Cube Show this week. Everybody should be watching Cube Show, and you explained how Clayton White does it, how Mike Elko did it against Auburn. It is essentially like an offensive coordinator designing a run play where you are moving some people over here to draw the defense's eyes, and then you're blocking these people, which it's not blocking exactly, but you're occupying. It's very similar.
Yeah.
There's no difference than when you see it there. It's called split zone now. We didn't have that when we played football, Andy, but you run inside zone to the right and you'll see a tight end come across this way or a jet motion come across this way. There's no intention of that individual on that play. Now, down the road, there will be. But all it is to get that linebacker to take one step, and then I have the angle to be able to go and grab that guy. Like I talked to Eli Drinkwitz this past week. I'm like, dude, that little counter thing you guys were doing, because they ran basically the offensive line blocked zone to the right, but then the running back ran a counter step and countered the opposite way with the splitter coming with it as the puller. And he said, all it does is help our angles. And that's, as an offensive lineman, you just want a favorable angle to be able to get somebody blocked. Like, give me the advantage to get the proper angle. Now, then making the box a totally different thing. But as long as I have a chance to body that person up at the right angle, we can get a hat on a hat and we can go. Like Ole Miss this past week, they didn't blow LSU off the ball, but they got a hat on a hat when they needed to, and they allowed an elite running back in Q1 Lacey to be able to grind out some yards. Sometimes that's all you need. Like Brian Kelly said, it only takes one.
That's right.
So Andy, I don't know if this.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. If you have another offensive line question, go for it. But
I don't. This is not another offense. I want to take Cole back a year because Cole was on the call for one of the most memorable games of last season. It was Tom Hart, Cole, and Alyssa Lang did Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Nashville last year. And so the Auburn message board has a very interesting question, which Cole, you don't have to answer this because you've got to announce these games. You got to be unbiased, regardless of where you went to school. But the Auburn fans are trying to decide whether they should root for Bama or Vandy in this game, and I find that hilarious. But this is a game where Vandy surprised Alabama last year. I don't think they can surprise them this year, but can they still compete with them this year?
Absolutely. Number one, Vanderbilt's a better football team than they were last year. I've heard you guys talk about this multiple times. You and Ari have both complimented them as their facets of their team that are just flat out better than a season ago. And I actually do think they can still surprise them to an extent because so much of what they do contains options, reads, and different ways that a play can be successful. And first and foremost, if you're an Auburn fan, you don't root for unless Alabama is playing Iraq. Like you don't root for Alabama. It's not a real thing. It's the only way. Like, no, that doesn't happen. I don't care when it is or where it is. But I do understand the fact that you got to play Vanderbilt later this year. And if they beat Alabama, that's going to give them a lot of confidence. They are much more capable along the offensive line this year. Physically, they look as much like an SEC offensive line as I have ever seen. Jordan Rodgers has echoed those sentiments. He's telling us stories how his tackles were 252 pounds when he played quarterback at Vanderbilt. Now, that doesn't mean that that's super clean or it's teach tape that you're going to show or the fundamentals or technique is just expert level. It's not. It's still sloppy at times. But they want to hurt you. They want to inflict pain, and they're physical. Their entire offseason study was yards before contact because they knew they had Cedric Alexander, and he was an elite back, which I believe he is, and he was getting touched at the line of scrimmage on a very regular basis. They've changed that. They become less reliant on quarterback run. They now have receivers that can hurt you down the field and hurt you horizontally. Even if it's just jet sweeps to keep you a little bit more honest, that's going to open up some of the read option game and the RPO game from Diego Pavia. I think he's throwing the ball a little bit better. I'm not saying that he's, this NFL passer all of a sudden, but there are a couple throws with high level difficulty that I've seen him complete this year. The one thing that they do still have is, and I've listened to y'all's podcast, so I can say this, that Diego Pavia is going to give you about 3 oh shit plays a game. Okay. Where
good or bad, both.
You don't, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're going to sit there watching and say, oh shit. And it might go for 50 and be a touchdown. Or you're going to say that and it's going to be eluding pressure, back foot, fade away, sidearm heave into the end zone, into 4 defenders, and it's intercepted. Or he's running to his left, he's getting tackled. He does this Jason Williams white chocolate behind the back pass is an option pitch to his running back who's not even there. And the other team gets it and runs it back. So it's like, if Vanderbilt survives the 3 or 4 oh shit plays, they're going to be in the game. They will be in the game because visually what they give you is one of the things Alabama's defense does struggle with. Like, you can steal their eyes. It's happened multiple times this year. And the guy who gets no credit with what they're doing right now, their offensive coordinator, can do that a lot. Nobody wants to talk about how good he is, but he deserves a lot more credit than what people are giving him. Tim Beck's been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Last year, the thing that was so interesting to me is that even when Alabama tried to answer something, the options that Vanderbilt had on offense, it was like methodical. It almost felt like surgery up and down the field the entire way. And I wonder if they'll be able to put them in that position again.
I think they can. I mean, listen, they're going to go into this game. They're going to go in this game playing ball control. That's who they are. That's what they want to be. They've told us that this year when we had them against South Carolina. They said, we want to shorten the game. We want to eat the clock. We want to limit possession. So you go back to whether it was Army at Oklahoma a few years ago or some of the other games in which you've limited the times your opponent touches the football. That's exactly what Vanderbilt wants to be and will try to be in this game.
Andy, I got to jump in with one other thing I wanted to ask.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's a Megaboard post, but this is still Auburn themed, and I wanted to jump back to Auburn for a second.
All the other Megaboard Auburn posts are about Hugh Freeze, so this probably connects somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And I'll make it connect. How about that? But you said something that I thought was really fascinating about Jackson Arnold earlier, and I wanted to dive into that, where he has a holding onto the ball problem. You have to coach that out of him and then coach it back into him, right? Of like when to hold, when to throw. And I thought that was interesting. And it also seems like a very intensive, long process that you can't just do in a week, right? Like that's something that takes a long time. And given the situation that Auburn is in with their head coach in Hugh Freeze and the importance of winning now and showing something in terms of growth, do you try to stick through with Jackson Arnold, or does that process, which seems like an off-season spring football fall camp situation, do you make a move at quarterback and try to give yourself some options there? Like where are you at with their quarterback position? I've seen some Deuce Knight stuff. You know more about it than I do. Is there any smoke with that or any fire with that smoke, or is that just fans being fans online?
Yeah, I think it's actually a very fair question, Ari. And I know it's a question that a lot of times people can use in an unfair manner of just, hey, you got to bench him. And I know that's not what you're doing here. If that continues, you absolutely have to look for other options because he's not giving your team the best chance to win. And even if you found somebody with less mobility that didn't have the straight line speed or didn't have the elusiveness, but could get the ball out quickly and force defenses to play you in a little bit of a different way, because now what's going to happen is what happened this past weekend. Texas A&M had a safety towards Cam Coleman, and they're going to be super aggressive up front with their blitz packages and their simulated pressures and how they're going to run them. You're not getting out of that until somebody throws you out of that. And if Jackson Arnold can't let go of the football to even attempt to throw you out of it on a regular basis, you have to look at what's next. I know they love Deuce Knight. I think they believe that he's going to be a great quarterback one day. I don't believe that they think he's ready now, but I think this is one of the reasons you went and got Ashton Daniels, is because if you needed a stopgap because of an injury, or if this situation, if it worsens, not in a second, but if it worsens, because you want to give him a chance to get out of it. If it were to worsen, then you have somebody with real experience that could go another 2-3 weeks until maybe a Deuce Knight was ready, or go the rest of the season. And it wouldn't go to hell in a handbasket.
They're spending a lot of money on receivers this year too. And those guys are going to be in the NFL soon. So I know Cam Coleman has one more year, but you want to give them a chance to make a play and change the game too.
There's no doubt. And you want to also keep them happy because with one more year, you want to make sure it's in Auburn as well.
Yeah.
So, Cole, we got Texas coming to Gainesville this week to play Florida. We don't know what's going to happen with Arch Manning. We don't know if you're going to see the UTEP version of Arch or the Sam Houston State version of Arch. But at this point, are we going to see the same version of DJ Lagway? Is that the version of DJ Lagway that you're going to see this year? Or is there a chance that he ever goes back to what we saw at the end of last season?
There's definitely a chance. I mean, it's in there. And this works both ways. I've always said that, the turnover genome inside of quarterbacks, it cannot be rewired. We can't play Jurassic Park in college football. We can't go in there and change your chromosomes. When the turnover, it's like Gatorade. When it's in you, it's in you. When you're gonna throw the ball to the other team, you don't just stop doing that. You can do it less frequently or be more responsible with when you do it. But Garrett Nussmeier is a perfect example of this. And McElroy and I go back and forth on this, and he talks about his growth. And I'm like, he's still going to throw the ball to the other team 2-3 times a game. It's a matter of, do they catch it? Or is it in a situation where it doesn't hurt your team that bad? But I think DJ Lagway has good football in him. He just looks uncomfortable to the nth degree. I thought there were a couple of times. My biggest concern with him is he appears as though he's protecting his lower body. If you really dissect the LSU film, there's a couple of times that he jumps when he throws. Looks like he's trying to avoid a defender who might be coming in low. And he looks like he's backing away from defenders sometimes when he's throwing the football. I'm not George Whitfield. I'm not a quarterback expert, but I know that when I see those things happening, I don't often see them with guys playing good quarterback. So I wonder what's going on there. I don't know if I'm not even trying to allude to an injury. I'm just saying something is in his head that's forcing him technically and fundamentally to be wrong. And then with that, he's making poor decisions. That offense cannot be simplified much more. It's a very quarterback-friendly offense. I mean, it is run the ball, play action. When you come off play action, 1-2, get the ball out. You have the opportunity to tuck it and run. And when you do drop back, it's a very friendly system of going low to high and how you get the ball out. So I think there's good football in there, but Billy's just got to find a way to help him get comfortable. And it's the same thing with Arch Manning. The growth that I have seen with Arch Manning this year is very simple to me, and he's not even close to being completed with it. He has started to find his calm. And this is one of the things, go watch the times that Jackson Arnold was rolling out against Texas A&M. When he releases the football, I honestly thought he was going to fall down because he's running so fast and trying to throw it so hard that it looks like he's just going to literally roll himself to the ground. One thing that Arch Manning has started to do a little bit is you can see him finding his calm in the pocket. And I don't think a quarterback can truly excel until they do that. Because once you calm down, then you are in control of how you want to deliver the football, where you deliver the football, how you operate in the pocket. If you can't find your calm, it's like Bo Nix at Auburn. He never truly calmed down. Then he gets to Oregon, and it's like, this dude's just standing in the pocket. And you're like, well, where was this guy? He completely transformed himself mentally and emotionally as a quarterback. And that's what Arch Manning's biggest flaw was, in my opinion, early in the season, is he was trying to do everything 100 miles an hour. And some of that he wasn't really trying to. It's just that you're amped up to the point where that's happening. And you got to figure out, hey, we just got to go play football here and find a way to bring yourself down and get your emotions in check. And I do think he's made some progress doing that. Arch's biggest problem is this. The guys around him are not playing near to their capabilities. None of them. Like the offensive line is not blocking people at the level that they're capable of. The running backs are not breaking tackles anywhere near to the level that they're capable of. And the receivers are not catching the ball and then running when they do catch the ball to the level that they're capable of. You put the Texas run game on last year, if you got those guys in a one-on-one, they were going to the house. This year, it's like they allowed UTEP to put on the most impressive individual 4 quarters of tackling that I have seen this year. That is not a joke. That is not sarcasm. They got more guys to the ground in one-on-one situations than any other team I've watched this year. You're Texas. Those guys with that level of talent cannot allow that to take place.
That's interesting. Yeah. Who do you have more hope for turning it around based on the film that you've watched of the two?
This year, I would say Arch, because like I said, there are some issues with him. He has his flaws, but I don't feel like it's as much on him. With Florida, I feel like first and foremost, the run game's got to go if DJ is going to work. Just because the offense is not designed to be a let's get in shotgun, drop back 50 times, spit the ball out quickly, left, right, then get our shots in down the field. Like that is an offense. And the reason I love that offense, I love Billy's offense, is it's all married to each other. And there are certain offenses, some in the SEC right now, that literally look like they're drawing plays out of a hat. And that's never going to be Billy's offense. But that run game's got to go first to set everything else up. It just has to. There are parts of the Texas offense that are there. I mean, listen, Sark will probably tell you right now, if I get my running back in one-on-one with a corner, you better make him miss. If I get you at the linebacker in the whole one-on-one, that's your job to make him miss. Now, we'd love to have it clean up to a safety, but Sark is getting his guys in space. They're just not making plays to the level that they need to. And the fact that Arch has started to find a little bit of that calm tells me that he can continue to do that through the course of the season.
Cole, I know you've been playing hurt. We're trying to diagnose various SEC quarterbacks, or at least their fan bases are trying to figure out, if there's something off with them. I know you've been playing hurt. I listened to Tuesday Night Date Night, which is your podcast with your lovely wife, Catherine, and you're getting a sinus infection. You're on 19 different TV shows. You do a daily radio show. You have your own podcast. So I feel your pain. Your wife has no sympathy for you whatsoever. And I just want to know, I want you to know that we feel you here.
I appreciate that. And that's at least one person I can go to her, because I am the individual that when I get sick, I just need to shut down. I just want to go to the room, lay down, turn the lights off, and everything just has to, I just need time to sort of decompress. And it's going to run its course. There's not a lot we can do. And my wife is the opposite. Like, I'm a baby when I get sick. I'll be the first one to admit I just am. And she has zero sympathy for it. None. She's like, get up, go get doing this, go do that. This needs to be done. I just need to lay down. Okay. I can't breathe out of my left nostril. My throat's burning. My eyeballs are sore. Just give me a minute to just relax and try to overcome this. And there is no time for her. She feels like I just need to be up and at him right now. She'd be a great college strength coach. She's, who cares? Get in there and do your bench press. Go.
That's very similar to the way my life works. I don't know about you, Andy, but my wife, zero. She's like, she takes care of me, but there's like a hint of resentment underneath it.
Well, no, when you're a mom, there's no sympathy whatsoever, because it doesn't matter when your kids are little. And you guys both have little kids. I don't anymore. But when your kids are little, like, they don't get a minute off. The mom never gets a minute off. So it doesn't matter what has happened. And this is, I feel like I help out around the house and that sort of thing. And I know you guys do too, but it's just different. The mom has more responsibility in terms of that. And so when they have to go through that, when your kids are 3, 4, 5 years old, like, they don't give a shit what you're going through, because they've been through worse.
In my defense, though, when my wife gets sick, I'm like, go into your room. I'll bring you dinner. Love you, sweetheart. Relax. Get better. I've got everything under control out here. And it does not go that way when I'm sick.
Well, that's the thing. Do you know how bad it has to be for her to go into the room?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But like
she'll play through a lot more than you will.
Yeah, I can't play through injury. That's for sure. But it's like she'll bring in this because she's so sweet and she's such a good wife, and I'm sure yours too, Cole. Like we'll bring like medicine and soup and whatever, but there's just like unspoken, like, here's your soup, you piece of
100%,
shit.
100%. And Ari,
Like,
one of the
it's
things we
felt.
talked about is I've had like 6 or 7 surgeries since we've been married, and she has been the best caretaker you could ever imagine. Just unbelievable. It's like, what do you need? What can I get you? Make sure, like, has the schedule for the medicine and like everything laid out. And we talk about this sinus infection. Here she is walking by. She's mad right now. I'm gonna take more hell for this.
I can feel it through the microphone. I can feel the resentment.
This is where you tell her, save it for the podcast. Save it for the show.
She's it's funny. She's actually started to learn that, like saving content for the show instead of just talking it all out right then. But as she said last night, she's like, it's just a cold. Get over it. And I'm like, it's not just a cold. You know what this is? I get these 2-3 times a year. It really puts me down. Give me my time and just let me be alone. But no, we get no sympathy.
Cole Cubelic, thank you for coming on here and playing hurt. We are forever indebted to you.
I appreciate that. And what I'm not going to do is go take a nap right now because she would never have that because she says she's never done that. So she wants to go for a walk. She's telling me right now, let's go walk.
Let's go walk.
Get off
Sounds
your
great.
ass and go walk.
Nothing sounds better with a sinus infection than going outside and being amongst the leaves. So enjoy it.
100%.
Happy pollen season, Cole.
There you go.
That's Cole Cubelic. You can find him pretty much everywhere. And yeah, don't forget the podcast with Catherine Cubelic, Tuesday date night. Now, Cole's going to be at a game this weekend. If you want to be at a game this weekend, download the Gametime app right now. Redeem the code STAPLES. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. If you would like to be where Ari and I will be in Tallahassee for Miami and Florida State, yeah, you can get tickets to Doak Campbell Stadium. You might have to pay a little bit because this is a huge game. This is one of the biggest games at Doak Campbell in a long time. But if you want a bargain, you can go watch Dabo Swinney take on Bill Belichick in Chapel Hill. They got tickets less than $100 on Gametime right now. Who knows? You can go to Ludacris concert in Chapel Hill beforehand. Use the code STAPLES, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And remember, at Gametime, the price you see is the price you pay. They don't tack on a bunch of fees there at the end at checkout. You know exactly what you're paying. If it says the ticket is $82, you're going to pay $82. So get those tickets now. If you don't want to do it now, you want to still think about it, that's fine. Gametime is the best for last-minute tickets. If you wake up Saturday morning, you're like, I got to go to a game, pop open that Gametime app. I guarantee you're going to find something you like. Go to Gametime, code STAPLES, $20 off your first purchase. All right. We talked to Cole about Alabama and Vanderbilt, which this game is so exciting because of what happened last year, because how good Diego Pavia has been, because how amazing Ty Simpson looked against Georgia last week for Alabama. Clark Lee, the Vanderbilt coach, got asked about Vandy's history in Tuscaloosa, which of course is pretty bad. Just like most of Vandy's history against pretty much every other SEC team. Clark Lee had a very interesting response.
I know you know the history with Vanderbilt and Tuscaloosa and how long it's been since you guys have won there.
I don't know that history, so
I don't know a whole lot of it.
Okay.
to change like things of the past like that, though, how much of it is just believing that you can do it? Like you mentioned, this team doesn't have skepticism, like they all believe they can do it. How big of a deal is that when you go into a place you haven't won at for a while?
We just don't, usually that's me and Laura talking after the game and saying, hey, some of these have been like, whatever it was, 1918 when we scored 70 whatever points. And my response to that is like, what in the world were they doing in 1918 to be able to score that many points? Was that tempo offense and spread? I mean, my God. We just don't pay a lot of attention to that. We're creating our own history here. That's how we see it. And that really is the spirit of this group. And I mean, even in the way this is Team 5, it's not because the history of this program isn't important, right? I'm a part of the history of this program. But there was an intentional, purposeful break to say what has happened before has no bearing on what is to come. And here we are 5 years in, and we've the kind of the methodical and investment over time, the painstaking, the suffering and sacrifice have given way to a program that feels solid and feels whole, and I think gives us a chance to again create the history we want to actually define this program.
Hire him.
And so, what's that?
I would hire him to do any job.
He's at his alma mater, baby.
I'm not talking about football. I'm saying,
correct.
like, if I needed somebody to put together my daughter's dollhouse, which took me 4.5 hours the other day, I'd have him do it because he knows how to build stuff.
He seems relentlessly competent, and I'm excited to see what this looks like because I do think Vanderbilt is better than the Vandy team last year that beat Alabama. But I also think that they're not going to surprise Alabama one bit. And I'm telling you right now, Ari, if I were Kalen DeBoer, I would love this Vanderbilt love fest so much because it allows me to get my players into us against the world mode, which for Alabama, that's hard to do most of the time. Like, you have to really contrive it, really kind of.
Well, it's gotten a lot easier the last 2 years. I mean,
true, but at least, but this time, I mean, all the casual fans are rooting for Vandy. You got everybody saying, "Oh, Vandy's going to cover." Like, the Bama fans are mad at us for saying that we thought Vandy was going to cover. I think this is going to be really, really fascinating to see how Alabama responds to this because again, Vandy is not surprising them this year. There's nothing surprising about it. Now, the other thing that's interesting, if you read Chris Lowe's story at On3 about Diego Pavia, guess who's mentoring Diego Pavia now?
Johnny Football.
Yeah. Architect of one of the greatest upsets of the home team at Bryant-Denny Stadium that anybody's ever seen. So I think probably Johnny Football has a lot of good practical advice for Diego Pavia as he is a celebrity in Nashville in the new world of college football, but also probably some good advice about how you handle a game like that. So we'll see if that winds up helping him, or does Alabama, with the advantage of, oh, nobody actually believes in us. Like, this is the one time Alabama can be like, nobody believes in us, and they're right.
I mean, I believe.
I think we're probably wrong about that.
They're 11, 10.5 point favorites. It's not like, I think people believe that they can win. I think the actual reality of this.
I think the world is rooting against them other than their own fans. And I think that's helpful. But that's helpful in this situation. Like, and again, they're not going to be surprised. They're the ones seeking the revenge. It's not.
They're seeking the revenge. I think that this game is a perfect illustration, and we don't have to say this every single time a formerly lower tier team is competitive with a higher tier team, but this is more of a testament to the foundation that was built at Vanderbilt and the fact that they have players that are capable of being on the same field as Alabama, and it's partially
we made fun of Clark Lee doing this is how you do the warm-ups, and we're not gonna actually practice until we can figure out how to do warm-ups right, and doing warm-ups for 2.5 hours in year one. Like, we made fun of that, but he knew what he was doing. Yeah, it worked.
And just the evaluation that Barton Simmons and his staff have done to bring in players that could grow into those bodies, and illustrate an athleticism that turns into a productive SEC player. Now, I don't know this off the top of my head, and I'd be interested. I might actually look at this up before the weekend so I have a column ammo for Saturday. But like, how many players on Vanderbilt's roster actually are viewed as, first or second or third day NFL draft picks? Mm-hmm. There's only 3 days, right? First or second day draft.
There are only 3.
High end
so
draft.
First 3 rounds is what you're saying.
Yeah, right. That's what I meant. Yeah. And like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it's like we look through that prism, but like, if you have 20 productive SEC players, that's better than having 2 high-end draft picks and nobody else. Like, they're a functional team that can exist in these games. And it's not because we think that Alabama stinks or that there's no chance that they could win the national title. In fact, if you're one of the people or that are listening to the show and you're an Alabama fan, you know that Andy and I have been quite complimentary of their turnaround. So like, for me, This is just a game between two SEC teams. I think it's like more offensive because there's a V on their helmet and we can't escape from the past of what they used to be. But Vanderbilt, like if this Vanderbilt team was wearing a South Carolina uniform, would it be as offensive? No, it's just because it's Vanderbilt. And I don't think the world has caught up to the fact yet that they are good. Like they're a good football team. I don't know if they're a great one. I don't know if they're one that can win the SEC, but there's certainly one that if they put it together on the right day can beat anybody. And that was already proven a year ago, and they're better than they were a year ago. So it's not an Alabama shade discussion. It's a discussion giving flowers to Vanderbilt while also acknowledging that Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and some of these other teams aren't as deep and talented as they used to be because they can't be. It's hard.
Yeah. I also think the shade helps Alabama. Like that just feeds Alabama, makes it easier for them to win, makes it, less likely that anything shocking happens because they're just going to be prepared. One thing you can never prepare for, some good Lane Kiffin trolling. Elsewhere on the Megaboard, we had a thread where Lane posted a photo, and he's trolling Brian Kelly again. Like he can't stop trolling Brian Kelly after beating him. It's a photo of Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss's quarterback, who they got from Ferris State as a transfer, at camp at Notre Dame with Brian Kelly. Trinidad Chambliss is in elementary school, and Lane's like, "You had your chance, buddy."
Everybody had their chance. He was at Ferris State last year.
Exactly.
That is a funny question, though. Who does Lane Kiffin like to troll more, Hugh Freeze or Brian Kelly? And I got to say, like, we should do a ranking of this. I don't know if now's the time because I would be putting you on the spot, but like, who are the coaches that people like to make fun of the most? You know who used to be on that list that's not in coaching anymore is Jimbo Fisher.
Yes.
He was a very trollable person. Like, who is trollable? Brian Kelly.
Definitely Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly's number one.
Yeah.
I think Hugh Freeze is up there. Ryan Day was for a long time and probably still is by Michigan fans.
There are certain people, and I don't know why this is the case, but in high school and college, there are certain people, even if you like them and they're cool and they're successful now, that you just like want to pick on for some reason. Like my wife has a woman that works for her named Linda, and she's smart. She's gifted in her field. She's successful. And like when she's in the room, everybody just piles on her no matter what. And it's like, I just feel like that sounded weird. That's not the way I meant it.
Sorry, Linda.
But
I didn't want you to have to make your show debut this way.
She's very, she's just an easy target. And I feel like Brian Kelly's an easy target.
I feel the same way. And I don't think it's anything he's doing on purpose. I just think that's the way his personality works. And Lane Kiffin, of course, is a master troll. We learned last week that it's apparently genetic. His daughter is a better troll, maybe even than Lane Kiffin, but hard launching the Whit Weeks relationship the week of the LSU Ole Miss game.
There is a distinction that needs to be made, though, about the trolling. Anybody can be trolled for lack of success. Like it was easy to troll Ryan Day when they were losing to Michigan or are losing to Michigan because that means
very hard to troll Ryan Day now unless you're a Michigan fan.
Like even, I think Brian Kelly at a cellular level is trollable for some reason. And I don't know what it is. I'm trying to think like Lincoln Riley is easy to troll now. Yeah. No one trolled him when he was at Oklahoma because he was good. You're trolling the results. Who are the humans that you troll?
Producer River throws out former Vols coach Butch Jones. Yeah, he was definitely one when he was at Tennessee. People don't do it to him as much as Arkansas State now, but
yeah.
So this picture that Lane Kiffin posted, Ari, leads me to another Megaboard thread.
Okay.
It fascinated me. This is from our Michigan site, the Wolverine. This is the Fort message board. 11 Scott V posts. Michigan is the now QB state. Bryce Underwood, currently playing for Michigan, high school in Michigan. Dante Moore at Oregon, Detroit area guy. Trinidad Chambliss, playing at Ole Miss from Michigan. And he talks about how amazing this is. And Indy Wolverine 23 then jumps in with the first reply. Don't forget CJ Carr.
Yeah.
Also from the Ann Arbor area, from Saline, Michigan.
How certain geographical pockets just in recruiting just tend to have certain players. Like, remember when Georgia had Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence at the same time?
Yeah. And they
I
were
don't know
they
why
were
it worked out that
from
way.
25 miles away from each other.
Yeah, like two players who are starting in the NFL. Think about how hard it is statistically to start in the NFL as a quarterback. And the fact that they were the same age and grew up 25 minutes away from each other, like the statistical anomaly that is. And it pops up all the time in recruiting. Like sometimes in like even state by state, 1 year the state of Alabama has nobody, and the next year they've got 4 Pro Bowlers in the same class. And I don't know why that happens. Maybe it's just like math, but it's just like that's funny that they pointed it out that way. And Detroit itself is a very, very good high school football town.
It's a tremendous high school football
guys
town.
are from, but like Dante Moore is from Cass Tech, right?
Yeah.
I believe he didn't play at Cass Tech.
No, he's not from Cass Tech. But he is from Metro Detroit.
Metro Detroit, yeah. And I remember just back when I was on the Ohio State.
He went to MLK High School. So, yeah.
When I was
so
on
he's
the
from
Ohio
Detroit.
State beat, I used to go up to Detroit all the time and write recruiting profiles because it was like at the beginning of the Urban Meyer era, like they were attacking Detroit as like a secondary city for them outside of their own state as an emphasis. And they did a really good job of recruiting some players that, wound up being very productive for them. And it's cool to see that it's happening at quarterback. And it's, what's the best part? Michigan has one of them. Like 15 years ago, Michigan might not have had any of them.
Yep.
So the fact that
he's from Belleville, Michigan, which is again, suburban Detroit is basically halfway between Detroit and Ann Arbor.
Right. And Ann Arbor is like basically Detroit to me. Like,
Ann Arbor is essentially a suburb of Detroit. So, and then CJ Carr is from essentially suburban Ann Arbor. So, there's a lot of good football being played, a lot of good quarterbacks. We saw that. We saw that with Phoenix a little bit, where
Phoenix had quarterback.
They were popping up all over the place, and I actually did a story about it for The Athletic because that was when Brock Purdy was really blowing up, But
who were the other ones, Andy? Do you remember? Just I can't forget. It
was a bunch. I mean, it kind of started with Brett Hundley. Remember him at UCLA? And so it wasn't. Brock Purdy probably is the biggest star that came out of there, but there were a bunch of high-profile recruits that were signing with big-time schools. Like that was when Jack Miller was being recruited by Ohio State, and I'm blanking on the name of the NC State quarterback who came from there, and then his brother also went to NC State as well. But it was just a bunch of guys in Phoenix that kind of came of age. Spencer Rattler came through there. All kind of came of age at the same time. And we're seeing that now with that part of Michigan.
Yeah.
Ryan Finley is who I'm thinking of at NC State. Yes.
Yeah. I'm looking at the story now. You had Kyle Allen was one of the originals. That's not the same time, but Jack Plummer.
Right. Jack Plummer was young at that point. I think he'd just gone to Purdue. I built that story around the Purdy's, and because at that time Chubba, Brock's younger brother, was being recruited he was going to go to Louisville, and then he flipped to Florida State there at the end. But yeah,
do you remember the headline?
The Valley of the Quarterbacks.
Good headline.
Yeah, it was a good headline. But
such an athletic headline.
You're seeing that in Metro Detroit right now, where it has produced these guys who are fantastic college quarterbacks, and like Trinidad Chambliss is the one that we weren't even talking about, and now we're over the moon with him.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's just like, sometimes you lose track of people. Like, it's like easy to make fun of Brian Kelly. It's like, oh, look, Trinidad Chambliss was at your campus. Like, Brian Kelly is not the only person.
Everybody missed on him.
Like, it's not like he did something wrong. I think you can make the case. I think
he's from Grand Rapids, by the way. So he's not from the same part of Michigan as everybody else, but he is from Michigan.
You can make the case that when a player like this is overlooked by everybody, that the people who overlooked them had the right process, and there was something that wasn't adding up with them in the high school recruiting process. And that doesn't take away from the fact that anybody can have a renaissance. Like,
the other part of this was everybody, when he hit the portal, he was going to go to Temple. And I think part of the reason the bigger schools, a lot of stayed away, where they assumed he wanted to go somewhere to start because he'd been a starter already. But Ole Miss was willing to try to recruit him as a backup, and he was willing to take it. So this is it's just a fascinating story. But Michigan seems to be the place. So the next great quarterback recruit that pops up out of Michigan, you better all jump on him because he could be a superstar. One more, Ari. This is a quarterback, not from Michigan. We've talked about this person a lot. So this is from the Lions Den, from our Penn State site. UNC PSU fan, for next season, go get a quarterback from the portal. Basically, instead of trying to develop one, just go get a ready-made one. Yeah. And I was wondering what you think about that for Penn State, Ari, because other than Trace McSorley, who had Saquon Barkley with him in his offense, we could say, is it Trace McSorley? Is it Joe Moorhead, who was the offensive coordinator at the time? I'm going to Occam's razor this and say it was probably Saquon Barkley as the differentiating factor. So Penn State has tried to home grow these quarterbacks. And I would say between Sean Clifford and Drew Aller, pretty underwhelming results.
Yeah.
So should they just go try to get a ready-made one next year?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting philosophical debate about whether anybody should try to do it. It's not just a Penn State thing. It's like if you know that there's going to be a John Mateer every year. Now, the problem is that I don't think that behavior is mutually exclusive to the behavior of trying to still sign good quarterbacks out of high school. You can always have the option to do it, even if, the question really is, did Penn State make a mistake in sticking with Aller as long as they did? Because if Penn State knew, and listen, his story's not written yet, by the way, he can still go out. I'm not out on him 100%. I know that everybody else is. I think that this discussion about Bo Prabula and the stuff that we're going to have to talk about.
I'm getting there, Ari. I'm getting there.
And I think that it's fair to be getting there. But if you're the head coach of Penn State, the question is do you have to stay steadfastly loyal to a player that has illustrated a lot of good things and has potential? Or should you be aggressive and try to go get John Mateer, even if you have a player like that?
Well, here's the other thing, and we're relitigating this now, but when Drew Aller comes to you in December of last year and says, I'd like to come back, Georgia had that discussion with Carson Beck. Now, whether that was the correct move or not is another story.
The question
you don't
is whether
have to say welcome back.
Right. It can be done. Now, the other thing too about the portal is, as we continue to get more and more into it and it becomes regular, there usually are 4 or 5 guys that are out there that can come in and play right away. Who were the 5? I have a bad memory. Carson Beck was one. John Mateer was another. Who else am I forgetting? That was
there weren't a lot. There weren't a lot that you thought were completely ready-made this year.
So if you do that as your plan, it's very easy to say, "Hey, go out and get a ready-made quarterback." Well, A, you don't know who that's going to be.
Yeah, it was Nico and then Joey Aguilar and then Gronowski, and Nico and Gronowski have not ended up working out that great.
Right. And I do wonder with Nico, if he would have gone to Penn State in this hypothetical, I'm sure it wouldn't be going as bad as it is going right now. Part of that, too,
UCLA just fired the OC. They've already fired the head coach. They fired the OC on Tuesday.
But you can't from a philosophical standpoint, it's hard to just say, we'll portal it. Because it's the one thing for sure is that there's 50 or 100 quarterbacks at the high school ranks year over year that you can bring in. You don't know what is going to be available, who's going to be available, where they're going to be from. Penn State could have got a Steve Angeli type player, but would you rather have Steve Angeli?
Oh, Fernando Mendoza. Would you rather have Fernando Mendoza or Drew Aller right now?
I've seen Fernando Mendoza popping up in mock drafts because I like looking at mock drafts in the middle of college football season because I'm a sicko, and I think it is actually kind of interesting to see which players these NFL people are latching onto. And I've seen few mock drafts this week that have Fernando Mendoza going 1-1 in the draft this year, which I thought was interesting.
Well, and he's big, tall, big arms. So he's got the things the NFL guys like. Darian Mensah is another one.
Yeah. So maybe there's more than you think. It's just, do you think that your team can close? And if you abandon trying to develop your own quarterback and then you happen to miss, you might have a problem. So it's very interesting. I think that
we haven't mentioned Bo Prabula yet.
Yeah, who was on their team already. I mean, yeah.
Yes.
And would have stayed because he was a Penn State kid through and through.
Well, I mean, so for those who don't remember, the way it was supposed to work was that Drew Aller was headed to the NFL after last year. The plan was for Bro Pribula to succeed him, and Bro Pribula had been the backup at Penn State for a couple of years. And when he'd had to come in for Aller, he'd been effective. And then Aller decides, no, I'd like another year in college. I think it would be good for me. And we talked to James Franklin about it on the show. Like at that point, it's not fair to ask Pribula to stay. Like he needs to do what's best for him. And he goes to Missouri. Now the question is though, is Bro Pribula this good because he was always this good, or because now he's playing for Eli Drinkwitz instead of playing at Penn State?
Yeah. Well, here's the other question, Andy. If you have a reasonable succession plan where you have a quarterback who's playing and a backup you're excited about who will presumably play in a year, and then the player that you are presuming will leave finds it necessary to return to college for another year, is that the point of demarcation where it's like, well, if you're not good enough to go to the NFL now, like we thought you were.
But it wasn't because Drew Aller wasn't good enough to go to the NFL. If Drew Aller had entered the draft and been in this past draft, I bet he would have been a first-round pick.
Maybe.
Just on tools alone. Not on tape. Certainly not on tape. But on tools compared to the other guys.
Especially because it was a weak quarterback draft.
Correct.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think it's an interesting thought exercise. But what I do think is this. If I were a college football head coach and I were in James Franklin's position, and it's much easier to say this from on this seat here than it is to be James Franklin, I would operate in a way that was ruthless to my players because that's the real way to like do it, right? And I don't know what that does for locker room culture, but like there's no question that John Mateer in the offseason was a better quarterback than Drew Aller for the most part. Now, maybe it's easier to, hindsight with being 2020 and we know what Mateer has done and we've watched Drew struggle a little bit. But like, what's to stop coaches from recruiting over players? Like that's
nothing. But they always did before.
So the question should be, did James Franklin make a mistake by not recruiting over him or by keeping him? It's not a philosophical high school problem.
It's by keeping him, but I don't know. And again, if he doesn't keep him, that means Pribula is their starter this year. And I don't know if Pribula is as good as he is at Missouri in the Penn State offense.
Well, there's nobody that would have known what Pribula brings to the table more than James Franklin, presumably, right? He's on his team. He practices with them.
But I'm just saying, like, Eli Drinkwitz has a history of producing very productive offenses. James Franklin's offenses are not like that. The quarterbacks don't put up huge numbers typically, with the exception of Trace McSorley. So part of it, I think, is philosophical more than anything else.
Yeah. It's difficult. Getting a quarterback is difficult, and how you want to do it is difficult. I do think that every coach in college football should aspire to sign one a year in every cycle just because they're so transient to begin with. And, you should try to build your program around guys that you are homegrown. But as you look at the way college football is going, how many of the teams in the top 10 right now have quarterbacks that were homegrown? And does Ohio State count? Probably. I mean, it probably counts.
It counts. He went to Alabama. Yeah. Say he went to Alabama for like 3 days. So
I'm going to pull up the AP top 10 right now. Let's see how many teams in the AP poll have a transfer starting quarterback. Okay. Oregon's is a transfer. Miami's is a transfer. Ole Miss is a transfer. Oklahoma is a transfer. Marcel Reed isn't, right? He signed.
He was signed by Texas A&M.
Penn State
is a transfer.
Not a transfer, but Indiana. Texas is not a transfer.
Alabama's not a transfer.
Number 10 is not a transfer. So 7 out of 10.
But if we were to go, and then if we were to go into the next 5, Texas Tech not a transfer, Georgia not a transfer, LSU not a transfer, Iowa State not a transfer, Tennessee a transfer.
Yeah. So it's like it kind of feels like 50-50 almost. Like it's like, do you have Yeah.
And then if we go into the next 5, Vanderbilt transfer, Georgia Tech transfer, Florida State transfer, Missouri transfer, Michigan
could have been a transfer, but it wound up not being one.
He flipped at the last second on signing day. So he is homegrown of homegrowns because he's right from down the road. But yeah. So it's about a 50-50 proposition now.
Good question. Good discussion. Shit.
It is a really good discussion. And that is why you hit the Megaboard. Like, that's my favorite thing to do is go on on3.com and just press Megaboard and see what everybody's talking about, because you never know what you're going to find. You might get breaking Atlanta Braves news even.
I mean,
who knows?
And I understand too, like why Penn State would be talking about this. I mean, they had to watch Will Levis leave, and then he was pretty successful, you know, and yeah, I don't know if that, you know, but like, you don't like seeing your players that could have been playing for you leave and then go be successful elsewhere while you're struggling at that position. Now, if Aller has a really good second half of the year, and you can question whether or not that's possible, certainly, given what we know about him. But if he does, then he'll be like, you know, the story still be written. So I am not nearly.
I just don't think they're going to let him turn it loose. Again, I think this is part of this is Drew Aller, but part of this is philosophical on the part of the coaching staff. So
maybe they're
either going to let him turn it loose or they're not.
They look back at the fourth quarter of the game and go, hey, our offense was with our
they had no choice and they did it. So maybe just do that the whole game.
Yeah. And maybe, I mean, maybe you're so programmed to not having a good receiver on your team that you forgot how to use them. But like, it's like Penn State still has plenty in the tank. Like, they're going to make the playoff this year. So I think
if they beat Indiana,
but yeah, we'll see.
Fernando Mendoza transfer. We'll see. All right. Tomorrow, your questions answered on Dear Andy and Dear Ari. Also, we were on Matt Rule's podcast. Talk a little bit about that, and you'll get to hear a little bit of our banter with the head coach of the University of Nebraska. Maybe a couple more surprises tomorrow. We shall see. We've got a few things in the hopper. We'll let you know. We'll talk to you on Thursday.